moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, can we get a roll call, please?
Dr. Baldino? Mr. Cannon? Ms. Donahue?
Here.
Mr. Elling?
Present.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Knopf? Ms. Lynch? Here. Mr. Scaff?
Here.
Ms. Smith? Five members present.
Okay, we have a quorum. All right. So first up, we have a presentation from Baker Tilly. Gentlemen, you want to go ahead and start? We'd appreciate it.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having us here at tonight's meeting. We're here this evening to share with you the results of our June 30, 2024 single audit of Keystone Central School District. We understand you've got quite a bit going on here tonight and are trying to get through the meeting in about an hour. So we'll jump right into things.
Yep, that's correct. Penn
Okay.
State, let's go.
Got it. We'll try to get through this in about 15 minutes, but certainly we're happy to dig into as much detail as you might like here this evening.
Thank you, John.
The audit is complete. Things went well. I think if you were to check where we stand at this point in time with the June 30, 2024 audit is compared with the June 30, 2023 audit, we're probably about 3 months ahead of time in that we're talking with you here this evening in January of 2025. The 2023 audit was resolved, I believe it was sometime in April of 2024. So things are getting back on track there in the district's business office. Keystone Central, as did many local educational agencies and organizations of all types, had turnover within your business office. There's a real shortage of accountants out there. I think all types of entities are feeling this pain. But your folks have been on board now for over a year, and we're seeing things kind of settle down, and that was helpful in terms of concluding the audit. So I think Adam is trying to pull up a presentation. I'm not seeing it here, but he's working on it diligently there. When he does get that up and running, the second slide contains the pictures and email addresses and telephone numbers of the folks that worked on the audit engagement for 2024. So happy to hear from the board or the administration or anyone involved with this process at any point in time, should you have questions as we go.
Bring up the presentation.
In terms of an executive summary, the whole idea behind an audit is that an auditor, in this case Baker Tilly, gathers information, gathers evidence to support the numbers within the financial statements. Your financial statements are used by the federal government, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, your bondholders, your taxpayers, other interested parties. And those users gain assurance from the fact that an independent accounting firm such as Baker Tilly has audited the numbers. We communicate with external third parties. We perform all sorts of procedures. Looks like Adam has our presentation up and running there. So there is the contact information should you choose to reach out to us. And the audit process culminates in the form of the auditor giving an opinion on, in this case, both your financial statements and your federal major program compliance. Adam, I'm on slide 4, if you can get to that spot.
Yep, I believe that's where we're at, John.
Okay. And the type of opinion we were able to provide as it relates to your financial statements is what we call an unmodified opinion. That's the highest level of assurance we can provide as auditors. There's an organization known as the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, the so-called GASB, who sets accounting rules for state and local governments here in the United States. And that's kind of the framework that we work within to audit your financial statements and make sure they're being presented in such a way that's generally accepted. You'll see as Adam goes through the numbers here tonight that your general fund balance increased by about $1.3 million. So Keystone Central, as have most school districts that we're involved with, have had a period here of some time of adding to your general fund balance. It's almost seems counterintuitive in the sense that all of the operational challenges that schools were faced with during the pandemic, financially, most have fared pretty well, and that continues to be the case for Keystone Central. In terms of your general fund budget review, your total revenues were almost right on the nose. Revenues were $682,499, or a little less than 1% more than what you had budgeted. And we'll see as we take a look at the expenditures that your general fund expenditures were about $1.9 million more than what had been budgeted. That's about a 2.2% increase. And there were reasons for that, and we'll talk about that as we go. But from a financial standpoint, this was a positive audit for Keystone Central. Moving on to slide 5, I had mentioned these audit opinions that are included in your single audit document. There's 2 opinions that we provide. The first is on your financial statements. The second is whether the district complied with these federal programs that you operate. And both of those opinions are unmodified, which means, of course, as it relates to the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects in accordance with general accepted accounting principles. So again, those third-party users who are looking at your financial statements that are going to rely on them to make financial decisions, they can take assurance in the fact that we've audited these numbers and have found them to be in compliance with we call it GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. In addition, our opinion on your major federal award program, which was the ESSER COVID funding, that was also unmodified. So as these federal dollars are passed through, in this case, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, there's all sorts of stipulations that you need to abide by in terms of how those dollars can be spent, how you account for them, how you report on them, the eligibility of the individuals that participate in these programs, and so forth. And the federal government provides us with an audit program wherein we're essentially serving in their role rather than the feds sending in their auditors, their inspector generals. CPA firms such as Baker Tilly do this compliance work. And we did carry out that compliance work in 2024, and the district was in compliance again in all material respects. If we take a look at the bottom of page 5, we do reference a finding that was in the audit. And this relates to what we refer to as your internal control over financial reporting. So the district has in place policies, procedures, certain practices that you use as it relates to your day-to-day accounting, and how all of that day-to-day accounting kind of rolls up into the form of a set of financial statements. And we did have one finding in the audit. And Adam, if you could jump ahead to slide 7, we'll talk about that. So just to provide you with some context here, the auditing standards that we live by, we've talked about accounting standards, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and how the district needs to play by those rules, so to speak. There are also auditing standards in the way that Baker Tilly needs to conduct our audit. And without getting into too much detail, really the expectation is that the auditee, in this case, needs to be perfect with your accounting, which is a pretty tall order, as large of an operation as Keystone Central is, and as complex as these accounting rules and financial reporting standards are, to bat 1,000 is a pretty difficult assignment. Anytime where we feel or we come across adjustments to the numbers, so we're carrying out our audit procedures. We find something that might need adjusted, in our opinion, in this case, related to the district's lease arrangements and your capital assets, and there were some accrued medical claims. We audited those figures. We found an issue that we felt the numbers needed to be adjusted. We talked it over with management, and management agreed, and we proposed the adjustment, and it was posted. So we have a responsibility to report to this board that we did post a number of audit adjustments. We collectively, none of those were material to your financial statements, but nevertheless, the fact that we did propose adjustments, we have a professional responsibility to report that to this board. So that was the finding. Again, I would take into consideration that in most cases where we do propose an adjustment, it's something that we need to report to the governing body, and that's what we're doing here this evening. Kind of moving along, the next few slides, slides 9 through 13, there's certain required communication there that we're supposed to discuss with the board. We won't go through that here in detail this evening. We'll leave that with you. You have our contact information. Certainly happy to kind of delve into this in more detail if you so desire. You can call us or email us, and we will, again, be happy to talk through it. We did cover this information, I believe, with the president of the board during our planning session for the audit, and we discussed these required communications in detail, and really nothing changed from that point in time where we were planning the audit to the fact this point in time where the audit is complete. So I won't go into any detail on that, but we'll leave that with you, and you can study that at your own convenience. So that being said, Adam, if you wouldn't mind taking us through the numbers in summary form, I'd appreciate it. I think that brings us up to slide 15. So if you would.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks, John. I guess the one other piece I'll just kind of tack on in terms of the required communications is we will also provide a formal, what we call an audit results document that will also include some additional context and information around those required communications. That'll be forthcoming here very quickly and be presented to the board. And so as you see that, I would encourage you to take a look at that, because it does have some really good information in there that explains a lot of the background on what those required communications are. So as we jump into the numbers here, what we're looking at on this slide is really a 5-year history of your general fund revenues. And we've broken it out by the different revenue streams. So whether it's a local source revenue, think a local source is your real estate taxes or earned income taxes, or things that are coming from the local community, or things that come from the state government. So that would be your state subsidies and those types of programs, or even the federal government. As we look at this, as you can see, the composition by category has stayed relatively consistent over the last 5 years. Approximately 43% of the funding that comes in is local sourced, about 49% is state, and about 8% is federal. Again, while the numbers have grown from 2023, from June 30, 23 to June 30, 24, you saw about a 5% increase in your total general fund revenue. The composition, the mix of funding coming in those different streams has remained consistent. As we slide over and look at the expenditure side of things, again, while the overall numbers have increased, just as costs have increased and things have gotten more expensive, the composition in terms of where the expenditures are being incurred and where they're going has remained consistent as well. In that the bulk of the expenditures are in what we call the instructional category. That's really the teachers, the programs, the active education of the students is where the majority of the expenditures go. And then the next category is that support services. It's really the back office type functions, the administration, the business office, the maintaining the facilities, transportation of students to and from the district's buildings. Between those two, those are the big categories of where the expenditures are going out in any one year. And so as we look at it and say, okay, total of revenues for the year ended June 30, 2024 were about $90 million. Your expenditures were about $87 million. And then there's this other category called this other financing sources or uses. That's kind of just internal transfers between, say, the general fund and the capital projects fund, or could also include some money that's coming in or some things that are happening where you're issuing either new debt obligations or issuing new lease obligations. Those types of things fit into that other financing sources uses category. But when we kind of put it all together and boil it down, as John mentioned earlier, the district had about a $1.3 million increase in your general fund balance, which brings at your total fund balance at June 30, 2024 in the general fund to about $21 million. And as we look at on the right-hand side here, you can kind of see what the composition of that is. There's different categories of fund balance, and it's all driven off of what level of constraint is there in terms of the use of that fund balance. The bulk of it is in what's called this committed fund balance, which really means that it's money that's available for expenditure, but it's also money that the district and essentially the board of directors here has said, hey, we want to earmark some of this money for specific projects, specific purposes. That's about $11.7 million of the $21 million total fund balance. The next piece the next biggest piece then is this assigned fund balance. Those are things that are very similar to committed, where the district has said, we want to set this money aside, but it's something that is not done through a formal action of the school board. In some cases, it's things that the business office says, hey, we have these projects coming up. Let's set some of that money aside, of our fund balance aside for that. That accounted for about $6.9 million of your total. All in all, the district is in a solid, healthy financial position. There's an organization known as the Government Finance Officers Association, the GFOA, that many years ago, they put out a recommendation, a guideline that says that governments should have 2 months of a typical operating budget kind of earmarked in their fund balance to be able to essentially weather a rainy day, or to provide financial flexibility that as things happen. So let's say if the state doesn't pass their budget on time, this fund balance gives you the ability to weather that storm and buy some time where you don't have to make a knee-jerk reaction. When we look at what is that level, looking at your 24-25 general fund balance, 2 months of that is about $14.8 million. When we compare that with your assigned and unassigned fund balance, you're a little bit less than that, in that's about $6.9 million. When we add in all of your available fund balance, that's the $20.8 million. Your total fund balance, you're well positioned to where the GFOA says that organizations should be to be healthy. As we look at it in a little bit different format, over the last 5 years, you've had a similar trend where you've been in a healthy financial position. The red line is really what that represents, that 2 months of a typical operating budget. As you can see, your total fund balance in the general fund for each of the last 5 years has been greater than that recommendation of 2 months. 2 months is kind of a recommendation. It's not intended to be a one-size-fits-all approach, but it's kind of a general recommendation that's out there. Each organization should really look at themselves and say, what is unique about us? Where should we be? What is that appropriate level of fund balance for us? But all in all, Keystone Central School District, you're in a healthy financial position from a fund balance standpoint. A couple of other kind of bigger ticket things that are in the district's financial statements. The district provides retirement benefits through the Pennsylvania School Employee Retirement System. Your proportionate share of that total liability for the year ended June 30, 2024 was about $97 million. That dropped down a little bit from where it was at June 30, 2023, where at that point it was about $99 million. This is a long-term liability. It's not something that you're going to have to write a check for tomorrow, but it is something that's out there, and it's kind of your share of the broader plan that covers the vast majority of all of school districts within Pennsylvania. As we look at it in terms of what did you contribute for the year ended June 30, 2024, the district contributed about $11.4 million to that plan. So that's funding based on every dollar of payroll, every dollar of salary that you're paying to the PSERS employees. 33 cents of that dollar is, and it goes in and gets paid into PSERS to fund their future retirement benefits. That contribution rate has fluctuated significantly over the last couple of years, and is expected to fluctuate out into the future. As we kind of look at it and say, project out what's your covered payroll going anticipated to be, and what are those contribution rates, we can see that they, out in 2028, the contribution rate jumps up to 37%. So if we take the $11 million that you paid in June for June 30, 24, kind of anticipate what your payroll is going to increase, it potentially leads to about a $16 million contribution to that plan out in 2028. Now, the other piece to keep in mind with this is that while the district pays this, the Commonwealth does provide approximately a 50% reimbursement to the district to help offset some of that payment. But it is still a significant chunk of what your budget is and what you're paying into that plan. Okay, the last piece, and John mentioned this briefly, is the uniform guidance, or this compliance aspect, in that the organization received and expended $10.3 million in total federal financial assistance for your year ended June 30, 2024. As John mentioned, we did audit your education stabilization funds, or those ESSER dollars, with no compliance findings, no issues that came to our attention, and we were able to provide an unmodified opinion on your compliance with those programs. So with that, kind of in closing and summary, you had positive budget results. Your business office was much better prepared this year. They're responsive. They're a joy to work with. So we definitely would be remiss if we didn't take a second and just thank Joni and Christy and the entire team there for all of their work and dedication to get to this point. We know it's not easy to be audited. And this is kind of something that gets added on to their day-to-day responsibilities during the year. And so we certainly appreciate all that they do to make this process go as smoothly as it has. So with that, are there any questions that you have on the audit?
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Before I start, thank you very much. I think this is the sixth one. I've had your presentation. But before I start asking questions, I'm going to ask the board members this, and I'm being very serious, please. Do you want me to hold off the questions and we ask them to come to the finance committee? Or are you patient enough tonight where I can go through all of these in detail? So please, I'm offering that option.
Does this deal directly with the audit? What you're going to say?
Yes.
Okay, then we will go through.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If that's what everyone, okay, thank you. Apologies, it's not Penn State game and everything. I understand, but
Go Penn State. Just saying.
it's a conflict and I'm so sorry. Could we please go to page 4?
Okay.
Okay. The last line, under the general fund budgetary review, the last line, expenditures were 2.26 more than the final budget. It says it's the result of an increase in the cyber charter school tuition payments. So here's my question. our payments went up 2.26% last year for charter, and that's why expenditures were that high. They're directly linked, that last sentence.
So, no, I would not say that your cyber charter school payments went up 2.26%. But in looking at the predominant reason for why the expenditures in the general fund were $1.9 million more than your final budget, that was the big driver in that increase from what you had budgeted to what your actual expenditures were.
Okay, so we didn't budget properly because I'm sort of assuming tuition payments are always going to go up every year. So we did not budget correctly. Is that basically it?
I would say that it's whether it was you didn't budget correctly or it was you used the best available information when the budget was put together, and then the actual use of those cyber charter schools came in at a greater use than what you had anticipated in the budget. Would be my guess as to why that was I'll say a budgetary miss in terms of what you originally adopted versus what you actually incurred.
Okay, maybe this is just me, but to me, it's a misleading statement. It makes it appear that the reason why our expenditures were higher is because, quote, it was a resulting increase of cyber charter. So would you please consider rewriting that so it's either more detailed or less misleading? Okay?
I think that's fair. I think probably that would have been better worded had we said result is in part due to increases in cyber school tuition payments.
Okay, well, whatever you feel in your own professional opinion, so it appears more descriptive and less misleading.
Yes,
Would
ma'am.
deeply
Yeah,
appreciated.
And this is not what we're looking at here on screen is not the audit report. It does not say this in the audit report. This is kind of a summary of the audit for the board's information, but we can certainly tailor that a bit. And I guess to the point about budgeting correctly, if there's one thing that we see is difficult to budget for in a school district's general fund expenditure budget, it would be special education, which is just oftentimes there are significant variances between what gets budgeted and what the actual expense is. And in more recent years, the charter school costs, those two areas, based upon the work that we do in this area, and we see a lot of schools, those are typically wild cards in terms of budgeting.
Fair enough. Very well put. Thank you, John.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, page 7. Now, I am a little disappointed that where is the actual audit report? Because that's really what I wanted to read before the presentation. So before I go too deep in this, is the audit report completely done? Or are you waiting to get our recommendations or comments and then do the final report?
Yeah, so at this point, the audit is, as John mentioned, the audit is complete. There are a couple of final loose ends that we're wrapping up in terms of just closing down the last pieces of it, which we anticipate doing here over the next couple of days. And then at that point would be able to issue the final audit report.
Okay, so that's why, okay, so after we see the final audit report, then we'll meet again if we have any more questions. I get that. Okay, thank you. So I'll go into some more details then on page 7. Okay, I'm a little disappointed that this is really the meat and potatoes of the report as far as I'm concerned, because we always want to be doing better. If we don't know what we're doing wrong, we can't get better. So I would like to see more detail. If you would like to explain all these more in detail right now, that would be helpful. Or if you would want to redo this presentation and give us some more detail on these would be deeply appreciated, because right now, this is not helping us to understand how we can do better, what we need to look out for. And
Elizabeth. I
yes,
think this, basically what this is a summary. It's not the complete breakdown of everything that's going on with it. If
right,
there's something there, we'd have to wait until the actual budget or the audit comes out.
Mhm.
All right, and that's whenever we could ask Joni or
we could have them
Christie
come back.
said
We can
we
have
can
them
s-
come back.
we can
please.
look at that.
Okay,
Okay, and if you have questions, then
okay.
that would probably be best.
Okay, well, I can comment to this then, because like I said, right now, this is not enough detail. So I cannot understand what these deficiencies are in detail. But I can say this, this is the exact same excuse that was given during last year's audit. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault, please. What I'm saying is the cause of these deficiencies, it says that due to staffing issues, et cetera, et cetera. As far as I know, our business office has not had any major turnover during this audit year.
We haven't.
So I'm not sure, well, Joni's the same, Christie's the same, the key people. So please explain to me why the excuse from last year is the same excuse as this year. Staff turnover, how did you come to that analysis, please?
You know, I'll try and answer that question. And forgive me if I get my timelines mixed up here, but just thinking through Keystone Central and kind of the order in which your business office has turned over. Susan Blush was in that role for a period of time. She resigned, and I believe at that point in time, Joni took that position. I think Joni moved on to another entity and then came back. And I want to say it was fiscal 2023 when both Joni and Christie were kind of on site. It just, anytime you have turnover in what we would consider to be a key audit position like that, it takes time for people to kind of get acclimated and back up to speed. I will say that, and I thought we had indicated this, if not, we will at this point. Things did improve in 2024. These findings, as it relates to these bookkeeping entries that we had cited here, we're describing as a significant deficiency. That's a better situation than what the district had at June 30, 2023, where in addition to this significant deficiency, there was what is known as a material weakness, which is a higher, more significant type of finding. So things did improve. Again, I tried to make the point that the expectation of these auditing standards is that you're going to bat 1,000. Not many organizations do that. I don't view this as a critical matter insofar as the bookkeeping and the management of the district there. It's more so we did propose adjustments and we need to bring them to the board's attention. And, things did improve in 2024. We can certainly provide the board, if you're so interested, the adjusting journal entries that show which account was affected via a debit or a credit and the reasons why.
Yes,
We'd be happy to do that.
yes,
And
great.
if you need explanation as to what we're doing, we're happy to kind of get to that level as well. The business manager, the business office will be provided with those adjusting journal entries. We did kind of walk through them with management at the point in time when the adjustments were proposed. But if this presentation doesn't make clear that things are getting back to a solid footing there, you are heading in the right direction. The hallmark of Keystone Central for many years is that you've had a good solid business office.
Yes,
The past couple of years have been a little rocky because of turnover. Things are, 2024, things did go better and there's more stability there. So if that wasn't made clear, that is the case. But again, if we propose an adjustment, if it exceeds a certain level, we've got to bring it to the board's attention, and that's what we're doing here. And I would say the audit report is in draft form. The district should have that. So if you don't, hopefully someone can get that to the board soon.
yes, that would be lovely. That would be very helpful. So in your professional opinion, should we keep that line in there because of staff issues, staff turnover when we haven't had any? Would you like to possibly consider rewording that with something else? Or, I mean, you're the, well, please, just a minute, please, such as maybe it's a software issue or something else?
Well, I think we tried to temper it a bit by saying during the beginning part of the year. So maybe our intent there was that, at July 1 of 2023, the beginning part of the fiscal year, people were still kind of getting their footing, so to speak.
Okay, well, we didn't have, what I'm trying to say is we did not have any turnover at the beginning of the year in the business department. So please consider what would be more appropriate, or maybe that is appropriate, but we didn't have turnover, and it would just be nice if it didn't say that possibly.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Elizabeth.
Mhm.
Okay, now, with that being said, okay, whenever you go into these type of positions,
Mhm.
have you ever been in something like this? Have you ever gone through an audit? Okay, there are always going to be things, if you just go into this position, you're not going to know absolutely every single thing that needs to be done. Okay, Christie's still working on trying to get acclimated to doing an audit. I believe this is your second audit. Right,
Mhm.
so I mean, it's one of those things that, yeah, and you're still learning what all needs to be presented and how they're supposed to be presented, correct? Okay, so that's
Mhm.
where,
Yeah.
it's turnover, but she's still going through the learning process.
Well, that's a
So
good,
that's
a good way to put it. The staff is still going through a learning process, but we're not going through a turnover.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
That is a good way to put
That's-
it. That's a better way to put it. I agree.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, no one's expecting perfection here. I know
Okay,
you
let's
folks
move
work
on.
hard, okay?
Let's move on.
This isn't about that. Just when, speaking of that reconciliation, does this audit look at our software, or does our software fine? Or is that something else we would do with a different audit?
The information the software produces is audited. We absolutely interact with the general ledger system and the payroll systems and all of those various systems that are used there. So the output of the system is audited. We do look at the computer systems and take stock of which ones you're using and the general controls over your IT systems and so forth. But this type of audit wouldn't do like an adequacy analysis or an efficiency type of analysis, or could you be using some type of system that would work better? That would be more of an IT type of audit. We have folks that do that work if that's something that you're interested in, but
Yes.
yeah, this is more so what the systems produce. We audit that information.
Oh, John, I'm just going to talk to the board later, but yes, please keep that on the radar, the IT. This is the first I've heard of this, and we can discuss this later at a more appropriate time.
Okay, thank you. Let's continue on.
Thank you. And would you please explain to me, so I understand this, because we've been going back and forth on this, and I don't feel we've had a real definitive answer to this question. Would you please explain to us what, in an auditing perspective, what off the books open invoicing is, please?
I'm not sure I understand
Okay.
what that means.
Okay, well, this was a question that I posed to you last time you could join us, which I deeply appreciate, and I don't still feel that the answer came back to answer the question.
Elizabeth,
Yes,
this is not part of this audit,
okay.
so can we move
Well,
on?
it is-
Chris has a question.
It is because I'm wondering where it would be in the audit is my question. So when we look at the final audit, would you prefer that I keep the question until we review the final audit?
That would probably be best.
Okay, I can
Yes.
do that. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Chris?
I want to thank you for everything you've done. I mean, I can read this short thing and tell you guys have been working at it. On page 7, you discuss resulting adjustments, misstatements, moving things around. Is that the several inconsistencies that you were talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I want to be able to see what inconsistencies we have so that we can fix them moving forward, because obviously you can't fix it if you don't know what's broken. So if it just has to be with moving money around from account to account, maybe we need to look at things a little tighter on it. That's all.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Short and sweet.
Thank you very much. All right, anybody else? All right, thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it. Thank you for going as quickly as you could. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You too.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Take care.
All right, next up, we have the student government reports. First up, we have Bucktail. McKenna.
Speak into that mic, McKenna, please.
Good evening. For Bucktail, this month's report will start by talking about Thanksgiving. To celebrate Thanksgiving, Bucktail came together to have a fun day. We led a turkey trot within the school. We celebrated how well we did in the food drive and Toys for Tots. In total, the school brought in 300 canned goods and 50 toys. Mr. Day's applied physics class completed the cardboard boat project. After that project, we started a popsicle stick bridge competition. We built and tested a total of 16 bridges and 11 passed the 100-pound goal. Everyone put their best effort in and we learned a lot. For this year's basketball season, so far, the boys' record is 4-5 and the girls' record is 3-6. Our own Lady Buck, Madison Mason, says it was a rocky start to the season, but we are getting better with each game. This year, the band for Pep Band has played at one game so far, and we are ready for this week on Friday to play at the Pink Out games, with varsity girls playing at 6 p.m. and the varsity boys playing at 7:30 p.m. Come out to support the Bucktail basketball teams, Pep Band, and to spread cancer awareness. The band and choir Christmas concert was a success, with the gymnasium filled from the stage all the way into the bleachers. The elementary band, the high school marching band, concert band, and choir all performed. This is the first year in a while that the high school choir has performed in a concert. The Bucktail Marching Band was in the Renovo Christmas Parade and the Lock Haven Christmas Parade on the same day. On December 14th, the marching band played at the local event A Little Magic in the Air. It was a very cold but cheerful night. It is beautiful to see the community get together to put this event on and spread Christmas cheer. This year, Bucktail is sending 5 students to district band and 2 students to district choir. We will report back with our results next month. For the winter fun day at the Yearbook Club, the Yearbook Club hosted the annual Christmas auction with Mr. Heiser as the auctioneer. All the proceeds from this event goes to the Yearbook Club. They raised over $1,000. Teams competed in a volleyball tournament, or people had a choice to play games or watch a movie. This year, Ethan Trocolo's senior project was to host an alumni basketball game to raise money for the Renovo Midget League Athletic Association. This event raised $1,323. There was a 3-point shot contest and a half-court shot contest at halftime with the prize of $100. And finally, Bucktail students are working with the Clinton County government on something that's pretty cool. Yesterday, students and teachers from our student government and next semester's ecology class met with Mrs. Beth Whitty. She brought to us an idea that would potentially make history to change our state fossil. Our current state fossil is inaccurate and belongs to a few other states than just Pennsylvania. Instead, proposing another fossil, the Hynerpeton basseti. This fossil was first found right here in Clinton County and at our very own Red Hill fossil site. This comes just in time for America's 250th birthday, where the state of Pennsylvania is focusing on its contributions to the nation. We will share more details with the next board meeting next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, McKenna.
All right. What?
How did it go with, I think Martin was working on it too, the music that you folks wanted at Bucktail campus?
Oh.
Any updates on that?
So no like new teacher or anything fancy like that, but we've gotten a lot more like into the community, and we are excited to go to district band and choir. And the choir performed at the concert this year,
Yes,
and that went well. So
Awesome.
I'm excited for that.
okay,
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
All
Look forward
right.
to the
Next
fossil.
up is Central Mountain High School. Claire?
Good evening. At CMHS, now that we're back from winter break, everything is in full swing, including not only classes, but winter sports, including boys and girls basketball, wrestling, bocce ball, and swimming. Rehearsals for the spring musical are also happening, and many students are preparing for music festivals. We are sending students to every festival, including band, orchestra, jazz, a cappella, and choir. We wish all students competing luck. In student government news, we are continuing our weekly meetings with Mr. Varelli to discuss new ideas to implement in the building. Again, I want to thank the board and our administrators at the high school for not only being easy to meet with, but also being supportive and listening to our ideas. The biggest thing student government is facing is now getting new members ready to take positions next year. As many of our officers are seniors, we have started talking about what it will look like for students when those positions will need to be filled. This includes students who are interested attending our weekly meetings with Mr. Varelli. We're excited to see how student government will continue to make positive change after this class of seniors graduate. Lastly, I want to personally thank the board on my and Drama Club's behalf for ordering new sound equipment and mics. The Drama Club has not received any funding since the high school was built.
Oh, my God.
We really appreciate it.
Wow, I'm sorry, I did not know that. I'm so sorry.
We still have speakers from Ben.
They might be
Yeah.
vintage, they might be worth a lot of money.
You might be right.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
You're totally fine. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Appreciate it.
That's
Thank
great
you.
news. Thank
Some of
you.
them
All right.
came over on the Mayflower.
They have a new trap.
All right, next up, we have Central Mountain Middle School. Levi?
Go Levi.
Good job.
Hello, Keystone Central School Board. My name is Levi Nays, and I am the Central Mountain Middle School 7th grade Vice President of Student Government. Tonight, I'm here to tell you about all the exciting things going on at Central Mountain Middle School, starting with the fire alarm systems. Many of our students and student government representatives have noticed how quiet the fire alarms are. They have mostly expressed concerns where it is harder to hear for students to hear the alarms, such as the band rooms, in the gym, and in the cafeteria. Also, the alarms with sound are located in the hallways, so depending on where your classroom is located in proximity to the alarms, it may be difficult to hear. This is especially a concern with students that may have vision impairments and might rely on their hearing. With these reasons, our student government representatives have been collaborating with CMMS admin team on addressing these concerns. We have also been collaborating and working on the cafeteria's new furniture. We have a committee with 4 members, 1 from each grade level, and Ms. Berger from Food Services. The committee has narrowed it down to 2 layouts of tables and chairs. On Friday, January 10th, the student body will view these layouts and be able to vote on their favorite one. The results from the vote will be released on Monday, January 13th, 2025. One of our biggest questions from CMMS students is advocating time for our 7th and 8th grade students to have earned outside time during the school and being able to sit with their friends at lunch. Many of our students expressed concern about the lack of outside time. The student government has been working with admin, PBIS, and teachers to create time and schedules for students to go out and find more opportunities for students to earn sitting with their friends at lunch. This morning, student government representatives met with teachers on lunch duty and admin about what process could look like for our students. We received valuable feedback and are implementing a plan starting Q3 for students to be able to use PBIS points to sit with friends at our Wildcat Bistro. Thank you for your time and listening to our updates.
That's wonderful.
Thank you, Levi.
Good
Appreciate
job.
it.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Now go home and root for Penn State.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, I'd actually like to make an announcement that this evening, we had an executive session
Oh.
starting at 5:30 PM and ended at 6 PM. Okay, next
Roger.
up, we have,
I'm still having concerns with that being one item in the executive session.
okay,
And
we,
I hope that when we come to the voting session, we can explain.
oh, yes, we will. We
Okay.
definitely will. All right, so next up is hearing of visitors, and I see that we don't have any signed up.
They all just laugh.
So, yeah. All right, next is superintendent's report.
My report is going to be fairly short. First of all, it is School Board Recognition Month. So from my perspective, I truly appreciate the work that you all volunteer to do to come in and help with the governance aspect of the operations of the school district. I appreciate your dedication to kids and your willingness to jump into a pretty thankless role and provide us the policy guidance that we need to operate the school district. Thank you very much.
That was kind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You heard a few things about winter sports. It's amazing how quickly we go through the season.
Mhm.
Tomorrow night is already the senior night for our swim team, which is a home event. So we're already seemingly midway through the season somehow. Right. It's moving.
Wow.
fast.
Is that it? Someone?
What's that?
Is it someone?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
Yep, all good. At your seats, you all have one of these documents. This is our annual legislative roundtable with the IU. So all of the representatives the legislative representatives for IU 10 folks. So we'll be invited to this. Dr. Baldino and I went last time. It'd be great to get some more board members to go and talk to our elected representatives, or at least their staff members, and share some of the things that we would hope would be supported in this legislative session. So if you would like to go, please let Christine know, and we can get you details and make arrangements for that. The last thing is just a quick update on the constituency meetings. Thank you, Chris, for hosting on Tuesday. We're doing it again on Monday at a different spot. And then we're looking forward for the rest of the board.
I
Most
talked
of
to
whom
Bill Hall today,
talked to Bill Hall today. Great.
so I'll get with Christine.
Super. So we're getting the rest of those set up. It was good to have a few people turn out, maybe not as many as we wanted. Just as a reminder for the board and for the community, the goal is to have your constituents come and meet. It's not necessarily intended as a wide open board meeting for everyone. It's really for the people who elected you into office. That's all I have for right now, except for Gulf State.
Amen. All right, next up, committee reports. We have down the policy committee, but I believe you said that because of technical
We
issues.
could not have a meeting yesterday because having technical issues with the screens, the TVs, getting online, board docs was messed up. So we rescheduled it for 10 o'clock on Monday morning, this coming Monday morning.
Okay, and
we'll
that
go
falls
over
into the
some.
guidelines of rescheduling a meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
We've
It's
advertised.
advertising
all right,
it,
perfect.
everything's done.
But thanks for.
all right,
asking.
thank you.
Very important.
All right, next up, treasurer's report. Anybody have any questions on that? Financial reports, anybody have any questions on that? Enrollment reports, anybody have any question on that? Okay, next is the Clinton County Tax Claim Bureau for Repository Properties.
Back up 1 second there.
Sure,
On the enrollment reports, we had asked about getting that third column on there that showed where we were 5 years ago to where we are now.
Yes, I remember.
We asked that a couple meetings ago.
Yeah.
Can we get that added on there? That way, every time we look at it, we can compare back to a couple years ago.
You want 5 years?
Yeah.
Just like one column that says 5 years.
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
Okay. I apologize, we didn't pick up on that. We'll try to have that corrected by the voting meeting.
all
Okay,
right, I
thank you.
appreciate it, thank you.
It's just for something to look at.
Thanks for remembering.
Okay. Now, as I stated, Clinton County Tax Claim Bureau Repository. Okay. Anybody have any questions on this? Okay. Anybody have any questions on the assessment settlement? Okay,
Can the public, I'm curious, can the public see it now?
No.
Oh, okay, all
No.
right, never mind.
next up is the student expulsion. We've already discussed that.
Last week.
Is that
Yep.
the one from back in
Yes.
December? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Policies. Does anybody have any question on any of the policies?
We took one policy off here. We pulled it because we got to clarify. Excuse me, we got to clarify some things, so we pulled it for the policy meeting. We didn't get to it, so we'll go on to it Monday.
Okay,
And if it's stuff we can get cleared up instantly, then it'll get put back on for voting.
okay.
And if not, then we'll
Just
move
hold on
on
till
to
the
it
next
till
month or
February.
whatever.
And
All right,
I just have-
good.
I didn't say this during the policy committee meeting because it
We
wasn't.
didn't have one.
Well, I mean, the one before, before board docs, poof. When you see line item 19, policy 916 volunteers, and I didn't make this suggestion during the committee meetings. I wanted to hear what the rest of the board thought about this in
Okay,
administration.
Elizabeth,
What?
can we actually wait until you meet with the policy committee?
Well,
Because that is
it's up-
something that has to go through.
No, I'm just saying, I wanted to get your feedback to see how you felt about it, this. If we had it put in the policy that there would be a month or a day of the year where there would be a recognition for volunteers, like something would, superintendent would say something, or I don't know,
Okay,
like an annual
well, that
thank
would be
you.
something that you need to bring up with the policy committee.
Well, do you
and-
like what I'm saying? Do you like the idea, or
I
do you
don't know
think,
that's necessarily something that needs to sit in policy.
that's why I'm asking, that's why I
Yeah,
didn't bring it up then.
Right, that doesn't seem to fit with policy. I think it's a great idea.
Okay,
Right, so I think we would schedule that not in terms of a board policy.
okay,
Yeah,
that's
that-
why I'm asking
In
now.
all honesty, that doesn't have anything to do with what we're voting on that. We're voting on the applications, disclosure forms, volunteer reference. So
Right,
we
right.
can do an appreciation anytime we want.
Well, that's
This
And
why,
that
for
is,
the
that is a
policy.
great idea. That is
It's
something
a good
that we
idea.
ought to consider.
okay, that's why I didn't, thank you.
Because
that,
volunteers
John?
are
Yeah, that's
important.
good enough.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth, for that great idea. Okay, next up,
My head's gonna explode, Roger.
you'll get over it, I promise. Okay, next up is bills for payments. Do we have any questions on the bills? Oh,
J1.
my fault. Minutes. Anybody have any questions for any of the
No, did a great
committee
job.
minutes? Okay, thank you. Next up, bills for payment. Anybody have any questions? Okay, River Rock Academy Services. Okay, does anybody have any questions on this? I just want to give you a heads up. What this is it's an actual new AEDY. I'm looking at it right there, duh. AEDY that we can utilize along with what is it?
Nittany
Nittany Learning Service.
Yeah, so, and it's always good for us to have two of these things, just for the simple fact that, you know, let's say we have two students that end up, you know, getting in trouble together.
It can't be in the
It's
same
not
room.
good to have them in the same area. So this is a good thing that we have, and
Have we utilized this company?
this is
before?
brand new. These guys are
Brand new.
brand new.
Recently opened, yeah.
Because I know when, last year when we going over contracts, we said we had no other option but NLS.
Yeah, this is a new option.
This is a new.
So now
option.
yes.
Well,
If we're going to look at a services contract, we're not looking at that for signing for money and all that already, are we?
So this contract is a little bit different in NLS in that it is a per diem. So that we would pay, the amount we would be charged would be by the days that their students are in there. Remember NLS, we
had to
pre-purchased
buy a
10
block.
slots. We didn't have to, but it made a 50% discount if we bought a block
Right.
ahead of time. So that's what we chose to do. This one only does a per diem charge.
Okay, now, my question on this is there a good chance that we may need them? And they say we're full?
I don't know.
If they're the only other option besides Nittany Learning, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many seats they have available, but we wanted to have this option available to us, which means we need the board to sign off on entering into this agreement, which doesn't obligate us for any money unless we assign students to.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. I don't want to
Okay.
pay for something that ahead of.
At this time,
Yeah.
they also have
Yeah.
seats available. They are under capacity right now, so they would not have an issue with accepting any of our students.
Thank you, Christine. Go ahead.
okay.
That's what I said. didn't I? Oh, sorry, Christina.
Thank you, Christina. First thing, is there anyone here that didn't go into their webpage? Or no, I'll retract that question, never mind. I reviewed their web pages and it appears to be an exceptional program. And they're only over here in Williamsport with multiple sites across the east north section of Pennsylvania. Be that as it may, I definitely requesting that if they can't Zoom in, they can come to a special meeting, but I do not want to vote on this contract until we can get a presentation from the representatives, please, because I have very specific questions. And please don't ask me to go through the email thing again, because I'm still waiting on other information I still haven't gotten from emails. So I don't want to go there. Please, let's set up a Zoom. They don't have to come here. And we can ask the questions and get more clarification on their program and what other options we may have with the contract. Because there's things in there that I didn't see in the contract that I would like to ask.
Okay, thank you. Next
Can I ask
up.
a question about
Sure.
Nittany Learning Services. How are we using all of our slots there now at this point?
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't believe so. Christina, do you know?
Yeah, currently we have 10 kiddos and we have 2 transitioning back within the month of February that they're proposed to be transitioning back. I do know that there are a couple kiddos in the wings ready to go. So we can technically have 11 at NLS and multiple that we would need at Nittany Learning or at River Rock, should it get approved. I do know that there are kids that we want to place, but do not want to place them together.
So
All
can
right.
we have can administration look in, Christine or Dr. Redmond, just to confirm whether or not they can be at our voting meeting for a presentation? Okay, because otherwise I'd like to have, at the voting meeting, we'll table it until we can get a presentation done first.
Go ahead, Chris.
Last year, when we went through this contract with NLS, we had asked that they provide quarterly reports with how many kids had gone in and how they fared and how things were going. And we haven't seen any yet.
I don't recall that, but we can.
No, we
Yeah,
did.
that was
I
a
don't
big
recall that,
discussion.
but
It was a discussion. at my-
Christina, do you think we could get that?
Yes, that's not a problem. Is that something that you're comfortable with us presenting, or do you want them to present?
I'd just like to know how many kids they got, how they fared out, how they're working now, so we can gauge how well that program is working.
We can do it, Christina.
Okay,
We were supposed to do that and we
Right.
haven't been.
That's
Okay.
something else that would be in this contract. So
Okay.
that's another story for that day.
Okay, very good. Okay, next, Pitney Bowes contract. This here's for the postage machines. Anybody have any questions on that?
No.
I just had one quick thing. We've talked about this in the past and I'll bring it up at the finance committee meeting, but just a heads up. And it was ironic, that I was looking through the old board minutes from the 80s. They had some very great cooperative agreements between the city of Lock Haven and the county government where they were purchasing fuel, they were purchasing oil, they were purchasing supplies together to save money. Now, why that cooperative agreement ever stopped, but this is a perfect example right here. I'm not saying that this is one of them, but I'll bring it up at the finance committee if there's any potential for cooperative agreements to go back and look at that
Right.
with the city of Lock Haven and the county, because
Postage machine?
I'm not saying it would be necessarily a postage machine, but this was just a segue to let you know.
Right,
I'm gonna bring it
okay.
up. Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Next, personnel. Anybody have any questions on the personnel?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
Down on page 4, we have 2 professional people that we're hiring. And it says filled due to an approved leave. What happens to these 2 positions when the people that are on the approved leave come back?
These are long-term substitutes, so these people would transition out, those 2 people would come back.
So they'd still be substitutes then?
We're only hiring for the time that these people are on leave.
Okay. And I saw that coming on further down here, we've created a position we're looking to help Sam out. Sam left.
So that position is,
We're creating
repurposing.
2 administration
No,
positions.
we're
No.
repurposing a current position. We're not adding anything. We're taking one position that had a certain job description. We're changing it into the scheduler position. So we're not adding anybody on. We're changing, as one person is retiring, we're changing what that position does into this new position.
Okay.
To make,
Well, I
it'll
understand.
make it
Because-
actually a lot more efficient.
I have, if you want, I'll open my phone up and read them. I got some very concerning emails from employees that we're getting more supervisors and lead people in property services than what we have workers.
That's not true.
Well,
It's
that's,
just not
the
true.
employees are saying that, and it's multiple.
Okay, well, that's
So-
not, that's actually, we're reducing the number of supervisors in the property services office. So
Okay,
I
did they-
don't know where that perception comes from. If those individuals would like to come to talk to me or Sam, I'm happy. to
Well,
kind of
they're
work through the
scared to,
structure.
I'll be honest.
Okay.
They've made it very clear. We all know why, we've discussed it. But like they said, why are we putting more people in a,
We're not.
I'm your boss position and they're not?
We're not putting anybody else in the supervisory position. Like I said, we're transitioning one position into a different one.
Cause I was hoping Sam was here, cause I was gonna ask him how many lead people he has versus how many workers. Can we put this, what people are discussing to bed, or is it
He's the
something we
only
really
lead,
need
isn't
to
he?
look at?
In terms of lead people, I guess I want more clarification on that, and I would love to have this conversation. If you can help facilitate with those members who are scared to talk.
I'll
so they
try.
feel safe, then let's talk it out with those employees to make sure that they understand the transition that we're looking to
Okay,
make.
that's fine.
All
As long
right.
as we can try and work through it and
For
get,
sure.
get
Cool.
things calmed down.
Okay, I have a
All right,
couple
yes.
questions. My first question was on page 1, the employment of Lori Jones and Tanya Hackenberg, temporary fiscal tax office secretaries. What exactly are they going to be doing?
They're going to be doing the tax office work that that the previous people who held those positions were doing.
Okay, so it says temporary. Does that mean they work like less than, like 20 hours a week? What does that mean, temporary?
Do you want to talk to that or you want me to try? Microphone?
Where's your? Come on, Joni. I'm telling you.
You need one of them strapped to you.
Due to the decision last month to no longer provide the tax collection services for EIT, we decided that we would not then refill those positions in the tax office. So the decision was made to hire temporary people. They're going to work 35-hour week. They're just not going to be full-time employees. So when the work is, we no longer need those services, then we don't have to keep them. So that's why they completely understand it's a temporary position.
So they're going to be fully vetted, bonded, everything. I mean,
Yes.
because they're,
All the requirements are going to be met.
Absolutely clearanced, absolutely,
okay, of
everything.
course. But my question is, if they're temporary, are they technically Keystone Central School District
Yes.
employees?
Yes,
Do they get full benefits and everything?
yes.
So, but they're not under any contract, union or anything like that?
They don't get bidding rights or anything like that and that's completely specified in the contract.
So
They do have union protections.
Yes.
The only difference is that they don't have seniority rights for this temporary period.
So
Correct.
when and if they don't no longer collect EIT, or if they find they don't need these employees, they know that immediately they're going to be
Yes.
gone?
Absolutely. They are
And-
told that directly in the interview.
And will their benefits keep going
No,
for 8 years?
No.
No.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
And I did have another question.
Yes.
County government just raised their rates for their employees, custodians, et cetera. So I don't know, did the personnel committee get a chance yet to compare?
That would be something you'd have to ask.
And we're in the middle of a contract, so we can't.
Okay, well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
the county just announced they did increase their,
Yes.
okay,
That's great.
all right. So I didn't, okay.
Okay. Next up is a maintenance planner. Okay. This is the position that you were wondering about, Chris.
Mhm.
This basically gives down a rundown of what their jobs are.
Isn't the jobs that are on this, isn't this what Sam's supposed to do? Cause all this stuff, to me, train supervisors and workforce on using stuff, review and verify work requests. This stuff should all be Sam's.
So in an organization that's the size of ours, you'll often have someone whose primary role is to figure out the individual tasks that need to be done in the preventative maintenance system
Mhm.
and get parts ordered, make sure people know how to do the work, knows what tools are needed, knows how long the individual jobs take to do. And you have that person basically oversees the scheduling of all of that kind of stuff. And it's because we have 9 buildings spread out over a pretty wide area.
Mhm.
It's a person who's really focused in on that.
It just seems like we're building more chiefs than we are Indians.
It's a misperception. As I
It's
said
just the way it
earlier.
looks.
Yep, I understand that is the way it looks, but like I said, we can meet with those people that have those concerns and we can work through in more detail all the folks that are working in property services, and you'll see that is not the case.
Okay.
I
Okay.
just had one quick question.
Yes, Elizabeth?
Joni, was this ever addressed yet with everything changing and everything? Back when Rob Pasella was here 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, but my bottom line, maybe this has all been fixed, but it's segueing into this job description. it says that they're gonna set up, I'm assuming it's some sort of spreadsheet, set up and maintain computerized maintenance management system. I'm assuming that's just some spreadsheet that gets
It's a
created.
bit more complex than that, but yes.
Oh, okay. Well, here's my question. Does the business office software now speak to, coordinate, used by facilities? Are they still using two separate packages and then they're having to combine it when things get purchased?
No, it's two separate systems. Even with the new package that we are purchasing, there's not a software that combines both of those. It's two entirely, that's a lot of detail. The maintenance of machinery and the tracking of what needs done in the buildings are not what the purpose of an accounting software would be.
Oh,
So
I'm
it is
sorry,
entirely two separate.
sorry, I miscommunicated. What I'm saying is when they would make up purchase orders and everything else, they were using a separate system versus the business office, and the two systems weren't talking to each other.
All the requisition of purchase orders have always been housed in the accounting system.
Okay, okay,
Yep, have always been, and they will continue to do so in the new system.
okay, all right, great. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have the athletic personnel. Any questions?
I'm looking forward to maybe when the season's over to get our update, how all the teams did and everything from the director.
Okay. Next up, maintenance planner MOU. This deals directly with the maintenance planner job description. We had to get an MOU from the union to get this, so. All right,
Is this job gonna be posted? Or is this the job that's already been designated? Is this job been filled yet, is what I'm saying?
No.
Okay, so it's gonna be publicly released.
yeah, we actually.
Okay, I just wanna make
We
sure.
can't,
Right, I
we
understand
have to
until
do
we have
this
this
first
first.
before,
Okay, so it'll be out there in the public. Okay, great.
yes.
Thank you.
All right,
I'd love to call for an adjournment, but I got a couple questions.
okay,
Like you, I want to go see the game, but sorry, our students come first.
okay.
As Frank said, we had one meeting so far. And a big concern of people that were there was transportation.
For what?
For the committee or for the
Green Township.
community meetings. One of the big things that was really coming up from a lot of different people was problems with transportation. And we really have no answers. A lot of it is safety on the bus. A lot of it is how bus drivers are treating kids. We were
Well, to be
told,
specific, there is one parent who said it about one bus driver.
and I've got a lot more issues, and like you said, you've heard things too.
Then we take care of them.
But I think it might be advisable for the board as a group to work on the transportation, like on maybe a committee to help with what we're doing. We had one lady there that said her kids had to ride the bus for 3 hours. They get picked up before 6 o'clock. That's a concern of mine. If you have a kid riding a bus for 3 hours one way to school. Well, she came right out in a public meeting and made the statement. So I think what we could do a better job on trying to line up that, not just for her, but I've heard it from multiple people. So I think maybe we, as a board, could work on that together with maybe get this gal, what's her name, Sharon, to come in? Shelley, get her to come in and maybe we could have a work night where we try and maybe figure out some different solutions, especially with the safety stuff. We were told of one student who got sick on the bus and the driver told the other students to clean up the vomit off.
We did investigate that. That wasn't true. The way it was characterized didn't exactly happen that way, but.
Well,
I'm
I
not-
find
I'm
it
not saying-
weird, these people would come to a meeting and say, this happened, and then we say, no, it didn't.
But understand too, it's the way that students characterize things may not
Understand that.
be perfectly accurate.
One of the other things that came up was Keystone Central has a shooting club. And members of the charter school that like to shoot also would like to be part of that club, and they can't be because they don't go to this school where athletes can come here and be part of our sports. Even though it's not a PIAA registered thing, I think that we should look at the policy on that. If there even is one, I don't know if there's a policy. I couldn't find one.
We don't.
And I mean, we're trying to mend relations with the charter school. I think it'd be a really good idea to maybe make this, there's only a certain number of kids can be on the team.
Yep.
And like Roger, you said, well, we got to take care of ours first. I agree with that, but then I disagree because it's not about whose students or whose it's belong. It should be about who's going to do the best job. It's about the students, not where they go. So I'd like to see that we start as a board, once again, look at that and see if we can incorporate some stuff going back and forth. It's about the kids. It's the best way for it to be.
Okay.
With that said, the last thing I have is I would like Dr. Redmond for you to get us what the contract was with the charter school and the last thing 5 years ago, because I've sat on the ad hoc committee for a year now and not seen one piece of paper. I'd like to be able to research what was told they had to do, see where they are now, because if
Have you asked for that prior to tonight?
Hmm?
Have you asked for that prior to tonight?
I've asked since November when we're gonna start seeing paperwork so we know what we're gonna do.
Well, I mean,
So I'm
we did
asking them
receive.
now again.
Oh, okay, but I don't think that was included in the original ask, so. All right,
Well,
but now
we
he
should
has
see
it.
something.
Now he has it, so,
Yeah.
All right.
Because it's hard to be on a committee and make a decision when you're not informed.
okay. All right, so,
That, I
and
make a
we're
motion to adjourn.
Well, I would like.
we're
to-
going to actually discuss that at the voting session. So.
Okay, well,
So,
we're
all right.
really dragging it close on time,
and we've already discussed this.
but I need time to investigate and read through it. As a
Okay,
committee,
all right, cool, thank
let
you.
me ask you, as a committee, our job is to find the information and then present it to the board, correct?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Okay. We've not found anything because we've not been provided anything, so I'm asking we get that done.
Okay,
I don't want
So
to do
you've
a
asked
last
for the
minute decision.
the previous charter school,
Understood.
so, all right,
Okay.
good deal, thank you.
We're getting started.
All right,
now.
Elizabeth?
I totally agree with one of Chris's points. Either we put it on the agenda or however you want to do it, President Roger, but the busing situation it's time to start putting together a committee, even if the committee is just a handful of people to start with, because the system isn't going to work and we can't be mediocre year after year after year and say, well, we just don't have bus drivers. Well, there's a reason why we don't have bus drivers. We can't keep falling back to that comment because we need to deal with the world that we're living in and where we're going. And thinking that we're just gonna hire new bus drivers next year, or the year after, it's not gonna happen.
Okay.
Okay, so please, let's get it on the agenda so we can get a game plan.
Okay, I'll take that under advisement. Thank you very much. Okay, next,
Motion to adjourn.
do I have a second?
Second.
Just say it. Okay, good. Meeting over.
Thank you.